Hey, welcome to the Dr. Dare Show live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Welcome, welcome, welcome. When you come in, click like, click share, and let us know how your week has been. I will be looking back and forth because I do have TikTok on this side, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube on the Dr. Dare Show. We have a great show tonight. We are asking the question, why are so many people in unhappy and unhealthy situations? That's the question that we're asking tonight. Why are so many people in unhealthy and unhappy situations? But we will get started at 8:40. It's only 8:30. I started a little early just to make sure that everything is in order. I'm going to check my phone briefly. So if you come in, make sure you like the video, share it. If you're on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And today's topic, again, we are talking about why are so many people unhappy and unhealthy? Can we talk? Can we get it right? Why are so many people in unhappy and unhealthy situations in life? And so we will talk about that momentarily. Thank you all on TikTok. Thank you, Wyatt, Liza, Melinda, Diamond. Thank you guys for joining. Welcome to my live on TikTok. I said I will go on TikTok live every other week as what I've been doing with my Facebook and YouTube and all of those. So thank you, thank you, thank you for joining. So we will be asking, why are so many people in unhealthy and unhappy situations in life? If you have a question, you want me to cover a topic, please don't hesitate to ask or make a comment. I'm going to check my phone just to make sure I am live on all my platforms, because sometimes I can't see comments. But let's check that out. So talk amongst yourselves. I hope you guys had a great week, a great 4th of July. I hope you got some self-care, you got some rest during that holiday. I know I did. I went swimming early that morning, and then I just kind of chilled and rested the rest of the day. So we are asking the question, why are so many people in unhappy and unhealthy situations in life? Kind of be thinking about your questions. If you have any questions on grief, I know TikTok, that's mainly what I do on here. So if you have anything you want to ask me about grief, go ahead and do it. I'm here. Same with Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. I keep forgetting. So let's see if I am showing live. I got to switch my phone back to... Yes. So it's been a short week, but a busy week for me. And yes. So I'm just making sure that I am live on my page because, yes. So welcome, welcome, welcome to the Dr. Dare Show live. If you have any questions, you have any comments, please don't hesitate to chime in. There's no dumb question, no wrong question. Hey, June Brown. Hey, Lorraine. Hey, James. Hey, Tyrell. Hey, Angela. Hey, user 97208388147. Hey, Natasha. Welcome to the Dr. Dare Show live. We are asking the question, why are so many people in unhappy and unhealthy situations in life? And it's easy to get into an unhappy, unhealthy situation in life if you don't pay attention to your needs and your wants for yourself. And we'll be talking about that later on as well. But when you first come in, please just like and share the video. Let me know how you're feeling. Check in with your mood. If you're feeling sad, if you're feeling tired. And I'm still looking for my self on. Hold on, let me talk amongst yourselves. Oh, there I am. Okay, good, perfect. Just had to find it. So yes, hey TikTok, yes, I will be doing TikTok live every other Friday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. So if you have questions on any of the videos that I post throughout the week, any grief videos, you just want to talk about your loved one, you want to talk about your grief, feel free to do that. Ask me questions. I'll introduce myself because I don't come on here a lot. I just throw out all these videos. So my name is Dr. Frederick Brockington. I am a mental health therapist, licensed in the state of Georgia. I do have a doctorate. It's in counseling, and I have a graduate degree in mental health counseling as well. I am an author. I've written 2 books, 1 book, Black Boy Anxiety. That's it back here. And then I just created a grief journal for my followers, which is, if you look on my page, you'll see the link and all of that for that. If you want to join YouTube, follow my YouTube. There's a link on that last video that I posted about this show. But I do a show every other Friday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, and you're free to ask any questions that you have. But tonight we're focused on, but doesn't mean we have to stay on that topic. We're focused on why are so many people in unhappy and unhealthy situations in life, and that's such a broad question. But I want you to chime in. I want you to give me your opinion of why do you think people are so unhappy? Why are you unhappy? Does happiness exist? Hey, Cinnabon. Hey, Mol Findoza. Hey, cousin. Um, hey, True Believer. Hey, Karen Valdez. Hey, Proud Military Mom. Any questions on grief? I know I'm always on grief on TikTok, especially, but you have joined me and my crew here on um, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So you'll see me looking on that other side as well. But welcome, 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 everybody. I am here in Atlanta, Georgia. It is very, very hot. We had a heat advisory warning for the last few days, and I've been in the house for the last few days, except I just finished teaching my Zumba class that I teach on Friday nights. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I Zumba instructor, singer, songwriter, author. I teach 2 adjunct classes for college. So I do all of that stuff. And I'm a content creator. I make videos and I love all the things that I do. So I saw one comment. I just lost my ex-husband last Friday. I am so sorry. Cinnabon 2022, praying for you and the family. And if you have any questions on grief, you know, people don't realize grief is really, really hard. It's really, really something, it's really a lonely process when you lose someone because, you know, you feel like nobody understands or you feel like everybody's experience is different. So that makes you feel like everybody doesn't understand. And then sometimes you don't know what to do. I know every time I've lost somebody, I've sat in like this blank stare. Everything seems so dark. It didn't matter what it was. I remember when my dad was passing, I was at the hospital and I think I was working on my master's or my undergrad, I think undergrad, and sitting outside the room and had just talked to him, and the doctors asked us to leave and then asked us to come back, and he was deceased. And to this day, and that's been over like 15, 20 years ago, to this day, it's still just like like, did they do something? It's just like unbelievable, right? That's how I feel. Sandy has started. Thank you, Sandy. Sandy says, I am unhappy because I lost 5 family members in the past 4 years, including my mom. I am so sorry. That is hard. That feels like you never can get over any type of trauma that you've had in your life. And not saying you get over grief because you don't. I'm sitting here talking about my dad who's been gone 20 something years. But sorry for your loss, praying for you. Sandy, how are you coping with that? How have you been processing 5 family members in the past 4 years, including mom? That's very hard. Cinnabon, cousin, I try to reach out to you. You don't have the same number. I should. always when you call, just leave a message because most times I'm in session, so I can't just hang up the phone and answer. I mean, I can't just answer the phone, but or text me your phone number on in my DMs here, and I will reach back out to you. So hey, Facebook, YouTube, um, Instagram. I'm talking to TikTok over here, so if you see me pointing in this direction, that's what I'm doing. But we're talking about why are so many people unhappy and unhealthy situations in life. And we had Sandy on TikTok saying that she's lost several family members, which is devastating. It's just that's hard, you know. And so I asked her how was she coping with that, and she's keeping busy with my kids, husband, and lots of praying. Okay. Okay, so Christy says, "Is it possible for me to help others when I have no love for myself? I graduate in December for for SW for social work. Is it possible for me to help others when I have no love for myself?" Um, Social work. I got you, Crystal. Crystal. Yeah. I don't know. We would have to explore love for yourself. Give me a little bit more about that if you want to. If you want to share. Most therapists and most social workers probably have been through a lot like me, which is why I fell into my niche of grief. Like that was something I wasn't even planning on to it, but that experience made me reach out to other people. Is that Shauna from Hampton? Well, lives in Georgia from high school. But Crystal, you can, but okay, here we go. Self-loathing and hatred, although everyone sees the good in me and I don't. So, Crystal, I think you should probably seek a therapist to see what the root cause of that is. And I don't know if that's going to get in the way of you helping other people when you're doing social work. But we always say in therapy, if something impacts your functioning, your day-to-day life, if you're struggling with that thing, and say for instance you're having a hard time going to work, you're having a hard time going to sleep, you're having a hard time just staying focused because of this internal feelings that you have for yourself, um, then you may want to seek therapy. I know when we were in grad school, that was one thing we had to do. We had a course where we had to sit there and kind of do group therapy with each other and kind of say um, things that we've never told anybody. So we were actually getting therapy. So I would suggest getting therapy. I've been in therapy for over 10 years. Do you feel like it's helping you? Do you feel like your therapist is challenging you, is getting to the root of what it is that's causing the self-hatred that you're having? That would be my next step. So don't be afraid to switch therapists either, because sometimes you have to find a different therapist. I tell my clients that all the time, but I challenge my clients. I make sure it's helping my awareness big time, but haven't gotten past that. Okay, so we got to get to the root cause of that because there's something triggering those emotions. I don't know if it's some past trauma you had. I don't know if it's a chemical imbalance or something. Do you know what your triggers are? Do you know what triggers you to feel those emotions? Those are questions that hopefully your therapist has been chiming in and asking. Um, yes, it's helping my awareness. But I'm glad you become aware. You're becoming aware because that's how you start to change in therapy. Is once you become aware of what's going on, then you can kind of work towards healing uh, with your therapist. And again, if you feel like your therapist is not giving you what you need, it's okay to switch therapist. Yeah. Okay. Cinnabon says, "How do you work on patience?" Hmm. Patience. So, give me a scenario when you're not patient. Is it a specific thing, or is it just everything in general that you're not patient about? Because that makes a difference. See, guys, when you go to therapy, we dig into those emotions because they come from somewhere. I'm reading this book called Your Past is Your Present. Basically, what this book is saying, and if you want to know the author, I'll go grab it. But what this book is saying, anytime we're triggered by something, by an emotion, we're triggered by anything, and it seems over like we're going overboard to other people. Say, for instance, if you dropped your piece of gum and you just explode with these emotions, and everybody around you is like, what is going on? Usually, if you're exploding about that piece of gum, something in your past has been triggered. And I always tell clients it's almost like we have a file cabinet in our brain with all the experiences that we've ever been through, right? And so when something triggers those emotions, we may go overboard where somebody else is like, why are you going past? And so most times we're triggered by something from our past that reminds us, especially if it's something current. Say if it, for instance, I don't like blue sketchy pads because when I was little, I was forced to write my name 100 times. So now I'm 30 something years old. That's not my age, but I'll keep that. And I see a blue pad, I instantly get angry and I don't want it. I want a white one because this is not. So we get triggered by that all the time. So I have a question for y'all. So nobody's on Facebook and TikTok, Facebook and YouTube and Instagram yet. Let me make sure. Okay. Anyway, it looks frozen. So I want you to tell me what's the first thing you think when I say this. Roses are red. What's your response? If I say roses are red, what's your response? Let's see who. Okay, I see one. I'm going to see if everybody else chimes too. Okay. Yep. Where did you get that from? Where did you get that to finish that statement? Where did that come from? This is exactly how our brains work. Yes, that's exactly how our brains work. Automatic, it's ingrained. Exactly. And that's the way our brains work when it comes to everything. We go back into that file folder that I was just talking about, and we pull that information. Roses are red, violets are blue. Actually, roses are not always red. There are pink roses, there's yellow roses, and violets are always there. Actually, I think they're purple. I don't think they're blue. But that's exactly how our brain naturally works. It goes and gets these things that we've been taught or we experience, and sometimes that's problematic, if that makes sense. Any questions on that? And that's how we function on a day-to-day basis. Basically, we retrieve these things that are similar or that remind us something of the past, and sometimes that's not good. I don't know if you guys ever heard of cognitive distortions. If you haven't, go Google it. But cognitive distortions are distorted thoughts that we have, and sometimes, for us as humans, we believe everything we think is real, but sometimes we jump to conclusions, which is a cognitive distortion. We we have black or white thinking. It's either this or that, or we catastrophize everything. Um, uh, Hold on, oh, Karen, hey Karen on YouTube, I see you now, but it's not showing on my little click clock. So sorry, I'm going at TikTok. So hey Karen, so right now we're talking about why are so many people in unhappy. I can't say that, unhappy and unhealthy situations in life. But hold that thought. So I'm going back to my comments. That's why I'm so negative. I meet all the distortions, unfortunately. Yes, Crystal. And that's why your therapist should be working with you on cognitive distortions, because they will make us believe the worst thing. And usually those things hurt us. They make us feel bad about ourselves. When we jump to conclusions, most time we're making it negative and we're making it about us. When you catastrophize, I'll give an example. So you're going to a party, and the first thing, if you have anxiety like I do, and you're like, oh my gosh, nobody's going to talk to me. Nobody's going to like my outfit. I'm going to be standing in a corner and I'm going to have a horrible time. Guess what? I haven't even went to the party yet. So I've catastrophized the whole situation before it even happens. But guess what? I made myself feel bad because I'm telling myself I'm not good enough. Nobody's going to talk to me. Nobody's going to like me. I haven't even given myself a chance. And maybe, Crystal, that's where your self-doubt, your self-hate is coming in, because you're believing that all your thoughts are true. And Jessica says that makes so much sense. I was obviously meant to see this. I'm glad you're here, Jessica. Especially catastrophizing in black or white thinking. Yes, I catastrophize. Even as a therapist, I have to tell myself, Fred, nobody said that. That is not real. You're making that up in your head, and that is not real. But what we do too is we put that onto somebody else. Like if somebody makes a face at us, we automatically think, oh, they don't like us. No, they never said that. You said that to yourself, which means you have probably low self-esteem, or and I always say those negative thoughts make us feel bad about ourselves. Hey, Karen, so chime in if you want on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. We're talking about why are so many people in unhappy and unhealthy situations in life. Give me your thoughts on that. Why do you think that is? And I'm going to go back to TikTok. Yes, we make up stories that haven't even happened. Yes. When we could just let things be. Yes, Jessica. That's the thing that I work on myself as a therapist every day, because I understand that sometimes this mental thing up here makes us feel the worst about ourselves because we believe everything that we think is true. And as a kid, I remember doing that. Like, if I thought it was real. If I thought the person down the street didn't like me, oh, that was real. That was evidence enough. There was no question about that. But as I became a therapist and I started studying and looking at cognitive distorted thoughts, there's one too that I'm sure everybody on here can connect with: emotional reasoning. That's when you feel it so strongly. You feel that emotion so strong. It has to be real, but it's not most of the times. But that's where it gets tricky, that sometimes it is, but most of the time it's not. So Sandy says, so true. I lose my patience with people dealing with my special needs son because it's happened. Yes. And see, it's particular. It's for Sandy, your patience is coming in, and your lack of patience is because you want the best for your son, and you feel like people don't take that to heart. They just want to get their goals done with whatever they're doing with your son. But you're like, my son needs special care. He needs help. He needs to be heard, all of those things. And so that's when your patience is, because you feel like other people are not getting it. And that's where that could be a cognitive distorted thought as well. Hey, Tanisha. Hey, Sherry Gilbert. Hey, y'all. Sorry, I have to keep going back and forth to the two. And so, Sandy, that could be frustrating. Crystal says, I would never talk to people the way I talk to myself, and that's the worst thing. And Crystal, you got to tell yourself that. That's where you have to start working on affirmations. We allow ourselves to just kind of talk negative to ourselves. Hey, y'all, we allow ourselves to talk negative to ourselves, but we never give ourselves the positive talk. You are good enough. All of y'all are good enough. You on this platform and you on this platform. You're good enough. You deserve to be loved. You deserve to go to the party and have a good time. You deserve to smile. You deserve to have the love of your life. See, those are the things we have to tell ourselves instead of letting those negative thoughts be the controlling force that makes us feel bad about ourselves. And that's what happens. That's why a lot of us get depressed. That's why a lot of us have self-doubt, don't love ourselves. That's why a lot of us are unhappy. And that was the question of why are so many people unhappy and unhealthy in situations in life? Because number one, we beat ourselves up with our own negative self-talk. Number two, we probably compare ourselves so much to other people that we feel bad about ourselves. I know the internet makes us compare, but you got to think people put their best stuff on the internet. So why would you compare yourself to that? Jessica says, thank you. I'm definitely on a tough spiritual journey, and this recently came to me. Good, good. Healing. Yes. That's what we want in 2024 is healing. We want to heal ourselves. And the way that starts, if you don't get anything from this live, the way you heal yourself is you start working on your thoughts. Because your thoughts are the things that make you feel bad about yourself or make you feel bad about your situation. And if you ask yourself, did anybody say that? Is that a fact? Why am I thinking? And you'll be like, oh no, nobody said that. So guess what? You're saying it to yourself and you're making yourself feel bad. Our minds are very, yes, Jessica, our minds are very powerful. And that's why affirmations are good. If people don't realize what they are, is because on a daily basis, naturally, we have negative thoughts all day, every day. I remember one thing that I started doing. I would wake up, and soon as it seems like soon as I would wake up, I was just get bombarded with all these negative thoughts. Oh, you got to do this. Oh, that's not going to work out today. Da, 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 da. So then I stopped myself, and I'm like, say a prayer to replace sitting here talking negatively to yourself. And replace every time you feel like you're getting ready to go on this rabbit hole or down this rabbit hole of negative thoughts, change that, stop yourself, say stop, and then go into a prayer or whatever activity that you can do. If that's write on your journal or watch a TV show or whatever. But we have to learn to control our thoughts because that is why so many people are unhappy. They're unhappy with themselves. And so Karen has and thank you for chiming in, Karen. Karen on YouTube says, I think some people are stuck and don't know how to get unstuck, which brings sadness, frustration with unhealthy situations. Some people don't know how to break away and are afraid to do so in fear. So that's a good point that Karen made. And I'm going to break this down. So she says, I think some people are stuck and don't know how to get unstuck, which brings sadness and frustration. See, me as a therapist, I'm like, okay, so what is it that you want to do that you haven't been doing? Or what is it that you're telling yourself of why you haven't moved forward? Because something has you stuck. I don't know if it's fear. I don't know if it's self-doubt. I don't know what that is. But always ask yourself, what am I telling myself that why am I stuck? Most things that I've seen in therapy is that most people have an imaginary timeline of when they were supposed to do things in life. That's the worst thing you can do to yourself. Oh, at age 25, I was supposed to buy a house. At age 50, I was supposed to be married with 3 kids. I was supposed to have my dream home by such and such. All of those things, you may not ever achieve those things. So you have to get comfortable with where you are and have short-term goals versus those big long-term goals, because some of those things may not happen till later in life or may not happen at all. So that means you have to take time to sit down and kind of reevaluate that for yourself, right? And so the second part of Karen's, and I'll get back to you, TikTok. Second part of Karen's statement is with unhealthy situations, some people don't know how to break away and or are afraid to do so. Yes. So I see this in a lot of relationships with couples. They get into these unhappy, unhealthy relationships and they're miserable. A lot of them are ashamed that, hey, this didn't work out, and everybody's going to be talking about this didn't work out. But who cares? People forget stuff so quickly. Look at all the stuff that we've had that we've worried about in our lives in the past that we probably don't even think about anymore. So we have to control. Back to the thoughts again. They control us. Let's see. Let me catch up with TikTok. Armand, thank you for being here, by the way. You're welcome, Crystal. I love being here. So I'm here every other Friday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. So you stay in that circle. Yes, thank you. Yes. Self-worth, heal those wounds and just let things be. Yes, Jessica, because we look for other people to make us happy, and that's the wrong thing. I beat myself up about that all the time. Just all the wasted time that I in the past that I was just trying to be this perfect person for people who really don't care. It's this fake audience. They are going to say this. They are going to do this. They don't care. To be honest, people really don't. They may make comments, they may say something, but the next 2 or 3 weeks they're gone and they forgot that you even exist. And that's why you can't let people control you, and you can't let those thoughts get you, because people really don't care. So Jessica says, because we look for other people to make us happy. Yes. At Jessica, Crystal is talking to Jessica. Happiness is an inside job. It's a hard reality for me. Yes. I love the back and forth and the conversation you guys are having. Jessica, hurt people. Yes. But it doesn't have to be that way. Lead with love and kindness. Yes, that's it. But that's who if you're getting hurt by somebody, usually they're hurt. They're usually going. I was just having this conversation earlier today with my sister. When people are trying to hurt you, they're usually hurting. And the only way they know how to communicate or get attention or whatever it is that they need, they try to hurt you. They say things. But the weird thing is, you notice that they stay around you. They'll keep coming around you. They'll keep, being in your presence, keep wanting to feel your energy, because they are hurting and people don't know how to ask for help. Fear without a doubt. Yes. Grief, fear. We fear the unknown. And I always say fear is not real. I used to have a professor that used to say that all the time. Fear is not real. We create it in our minds, again, with a negative thought. And I don't know how many times I've challenged myself and said, you put yourself through all of that stuff, all of those thoughts. And then the thing turned out to be perfect. And so now I try to this is what I want everybody to take away from this, is do a check-in with yourself before you allow your thoughts to just run wild. Because 9 times out of 10, your thoughts are going to make you feel bad about yourself. Period. That's what they do. That's why they're here. Hi, Sedarius. Okay. Jessica says, yes, we had all these belief systems built in us. Yes. It's just like the roses are red, violets are blue. That's a prime example of how we function on a daily basis. If we see something and it reminds us of something from the past, ching ching, we attach to it and we go from there. IRO 510. Hey, I've been on survival mode all my life. Self-neglect. Yeah. So who taught you how to be in survival mode? Always remember, guys, we learn everything, and not bashing parents, but we learn how to be who we are from our parents. I've had so many people come in therapy sessions. I don't want to be like my parents were in their relationship. They'll describe that relationship that their parents had, and then they'll describe their relationship that they have with their person, and it's almost identical. But when you're in it, you don't see it. That's why therapy is so good. That's exactly why therapy is. Any questions over here on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram? Y'all are quiet tonight. TikTok is going, so I'm trying to stay connected with both sides. So any comments over here? Thank you, Karen, for sharing. I'll put your comments on there. And then Karen says, I pray when I feel like I am catastrophizing. One of the best things my therapist told me is that fear is not real. Yes, fear is not real. And Jessica says, yes, we have these belief systems built in us. Yes. And sometimes they're the worst system. Sometimes, man, they make us feel so bad. They make us really feel bad. Some of our value systems, things that we've learned along the way, we thought, it's just like if you think about the way your parents clean the house, and then you meet somebody and they clean their house totally different, and then there's an argument about it. That's how our belief systems are. We even coming down to something as simple as the way our parents did things. And so, survival mode. I read that one. So I roll 510 says I've been on survival mode all my life and self neglect. So we want to preach self care on here too. I want you to take the time to do something, challenge yourself. I always say either once a week or once a month to do something for yourself that you haven't done in a long time. Maybe it's a childhood game that you can go to the dollar store and buy a puzzle or color a coloring book or something, just to kind of tell yourself that you love yourself. Be intentional about self-care. And so I want to know, I roll 510, why is this survival mode? Okay, and Jessica said, who is going to break the cycle? Chosen ones. Yes, the chosen ones are just having this situation. It's the people that take the time to understand how the mind works. And Jessica, you said this earlier, how powerful the mind is, and taking control of that and not catastrophizing, not having emotional reasoning, not jumping to conclusions, but actually taking control of your thoughts. Man, I wish I knew this like 20 years ago, how powerful these thoughts are and how they make us feel bad about ourselves. Just like IRO, they're making you be in survival mode, and they're making you feel self-neglect. And I don't know if that's something from your past that you feel like you have to stay in survival mode. I don't know if that's something that you're currently going through. But I would love to explore that, because we got to get to the root of what is bothering us, because sometimes it's an unprocessed thought or unprocessed memory that we've just hung on to that makes us feel bad. Putting others' needs before self. And see, I wrote 510. That means you've been told either you're not good enough, or you tell yourself that you're not good enough, and you tell yourself that other people deserve to be put before you. And we absolutely know that that's absolutely not true, right? We know that's not true. Jessica says, we've been brainwashed. Who said every parent did it right? They didn't know any better from there. Right, Jessica. And I always tell my clients, we are not bashing your parents. Most times, parents did the best they could. I don't know if you guys ever have taken the attachment style test. It's basically a test that tells you are the way you are because the way your parents raised you from ages 0 to 2 years old. That's how soon we start to develop characteristics and things from the way our parents raised us. If they were consistent, if they were inconsistent caregivers, if they were always there. So the attachment styles, and we can do that the next time. But I can send out a link to where you could take the attachment style test, and then we can kind of go over what that looks like for each person, if that's some interest. It's so freeing, right? Yes. You can only be responsible for you. At Jessica, this is a big one. I blame my dad for most of my life for my self-hatred. But looking back, he was a child who was abused by his mother and repeated the cycle. Yes, Crystal, and I'm glad you shared that. Thank you for sharing that. There is a book called It Didn't Start With You. As y'all can see, I read a lot, right? But the book is called It Doesn't Start With You, and it's talking about a science called eugenics, where it basically says if your great grandmother was pregnant with her child and she was going through trauma, that's going to be passed down from generation to generation to generation. And I firmly believe that. Like, I believe some of the stuff is genetics. And I will, Karen, I will send that link to both sides. I'll send it after I close out everything. But eugenics is a science that says when your great grandmother was pregnant with her child, and then if she was going through stuff, that just continues and continues and continues. Because sometimes, and I don't know about y'all, you wonder, where do I get this from? Why do I act like this? And sometimes that's why. But Crystal, that's a start, understanding your connection with your parents. I always tell people, if you want to change something in your life, you have to understand your story. You have to understand why you behave the way you behave. This book right here is what I did. The Black Boy Anxiety book back there, I did that for myself because I developed anxiety as I got older and I didn't know where it came from. But the more I started thinking about childhood and some of the things that I went through, I realized that's where that came from. And that's why I get triggered all the time when certain situations remind me of that thing. So, Crystal, I advise you to keep digging, keep keep digging into your past and see if you can find what the correlation is with your behavior and past experiences. Yes. Thank you, Karen. Some people can't love you like you need. I'm learning that now. Yes. And I wrote 510. I was just watching Tyler Perry and he was like, we expect people um, to be a certain way when they interact with us. And so sometimes we have to let those expectations down and start loving on yourself. Start giving yourself what you need, or start telling the people what it is that you need instead of holding in emotions like, oh, they're not doing stuff. They're not loving me the way I need. Tell them, this is what I need. This is what I need. And you can advocate for yourself. It's okay. Jessica says, I often ask, if I'm the problem, why are you still around me? Yeah, it was a good question, Jessica. I often ask, if I am the problem, why are you still around me? And Crystal says, I have the tools to break the cycle. Yes. And I believe that. And Jessica says, I'm the problem, but you're still looking for me. And that usually means, Jessica, that you're the strong one. You're the strong one, and they know it. Yes, yes, yes. So, any questions on Facebook? And Karen says, good question, Jessica. Um, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Okay. Uh, and Jessica says, you say I'm such a horrible person, but yet you still want to be around me. Hurt people. It's sad. Yes. And that's, Jessica, I'm glad you're bringing this up because most times when people are talking like that, they are the problem and they're trying to pull you into their reality. And you have to, that's where boundaries come in. Boundaries are so important. If you don't know what they are, look them up. And if you could tell somebody has crossed the boundaries when they pissed you off, that's the signal. I know that my boundary has just been crossed. But it sounds like, oh, I'm getting behind. So Jessica says, yes, that's how I started to realize you have to break it down in your head. Yes, yes, word. I'm just talking about that recently because what we've been doing, what we learned isn't working for us different times. Thank you. The ones who are aware, is just your time. Yes, yes, me too. Breaking the cycle. I know I'm reading. Arlo, you are worthy of caring for yourself. I understand autopilot survival mode. Yes, autopilot is a big one. That's when you're just going through the motions and um um I will. Karen says, say that again about boundaries. So boundaries, when you know someone has crossed your boundaries, is when you get pissed off. Say, for instance, you're dating someone and they just pick up your phone and start going through it, and you get so upset. What? They just crossed the boundary because they invaded your personal space. And the problem with that is, though, you didn't tell them that it was a boundary. And so we have to communicate our boundaries to the people that are in our lives, because if not, they'll just keep crossing them. So Karen, hopefully that helped. Healing is painful. I tell people that all the time. When you start therapy, it's going to be so painful because we're digging into all this stuff that you've been avoiding for all these years, the stuff that you keep walking over. When I'm dealing with people who have just lost parents, who are dealing with grief, the first thing we do is we talk about that loved one, because that's the thing they haven't been doing. They've been avoiding talking about that loved one. And all that does is create like the elephant in the room. And then you're trying to tiptoe around that. So that's one technique that I use during grief therapy, is that we really dig in. But for everybody on here, if you really want to get to the root of what is going on with you, you got to dig, you got to journal, you got to figure out what happened in the past that makes me act this way currently. It's healing to forgive them because they don't know any better. That would be great. Never feeling safe as a child. I know y'all, I'm behind. I'm trying to catch up. Grieving is another trauma. Yes. Grieving is another trauma. And that's why I think most people avoid it, Jessica, because it is traumatic. It is, you know, a hard thing to deal with. Like, it changes you forever. It's easier to keep pushing it all down, but it's healing to do something different. Yep. And the thing is, grief never goes away, which is why you have to handle it initially. So, all right. Anything from TikTok? Yeah, I mean Facebook, YouTube. Y'all are quiet tonight. Trauma bonds, yes. Trauma bonds are when two people. I'm glad you brought that up. IRO 510. Trauma bond is when two people are bonded by trauma. They both suffered some kind of traumatic experience and now they're together, and that's what holds the relationship together. But the problem is when one of them processes their trauma, then there starts to have issues in relationships. So you have to if you're having a struggle with the person that you're with, you have to ask yourself, when we met, was I going through something? And were they going through something? And is that why we bonded so closely? Is that why we connected so strongly? Is that why we are on the same page all the time? Because then you're in a trauma bond. And that's going to become problematic, I would say. Especially when someone processes their trauma, and then the other person is like, well, what happened to the bond? What happened to the situation? That's when you start getting called names. That's when, you're a bad person. You're, all of those things. We drive our minds crazy. It's exhausting. Yes, it's no joke. Grieving is another trauma. It's easier to keep pushing. Oh, I read all that. Yes, yes, yes. Wow, that was great. God is good. He knows exactly what you need. Sure is. See, right. The villain in their story. Yes. Yes. Yeah, you become the villain. That's why I always say don't listen to there's two sides to a story when it comes to relationships. And that's all I always tell people. Don't get in the middle of anybody's marriage or relationship. Send them to a therapist so that they're sitting in a room together having conversation about each other in front of each other so things could be worked out versus, that's one rule I have in therapy when I'm doing couples counseling is you can't try to tell me something about your partner while your partner's not here. Because what I'm going to do is when that partner comes back in, sir, could you tell your wife what you just said when she was out of the room? Because we don't want to bring that same type of drama into the therapy session. So, the villain in the story, Jessica says, yes, you either going to be okay with being the villain or not be okay. Peace is being okay with being the villain. Yes. Y'all are bringing some good stuff. Sorry, YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, trying to keep y'all abreast. Great stuff, y'all. I've been working. I see, Jessica, you have. I'm proud of you. Good work. Because that's where, if you want to feel better about yourself, it starts here. It has absolutely nothing to do with anybody else. Because only reason I say that is because we allow people to stay when we know they probably should be gone. And so again, that's a us thing, right? That's something that we have to tackle. So learning to take accountability if in your own mess. Yes. Again, and none of us on here are saying we're perfect. I think we're willing to do the work. And that's the most important part. Is being willing to explore what you got going on. Because I know I have stuff from my past that triggers me. If you do something and I lose trust in you, it's hard for me to come back to you for a while. I have to process that. Why can't we let go of, yes, being aware of it is step one. Yes, that is it. And it's us. We're in control of the stuff that we allow, because if you're in a bad relationship, guess what? You've probably had your intuition telling you that you need to get out. You've probably had, you know, second thoughts of like, why am I still here? But for some reason we stay. And that's us, because we can't blame that person. Not always. There's different scenarios. Being aware is step one. Yes. Yep, not everyone is going to get it. You pray, but walk your own path. I have a great deal of awareness just stuck at the first step. Crystal, I think if you start journaling and you start uncovering things that maybe you've stuck down into that file cabinet that I was talking about earlier, and maybe take those journals that you write to your therapist so that y'all can start to see if there's a pattern, a behavior pattern that maybe you've, you know, um, not been paying attention to, because it's all about that. There's an unprocessed thought that you're having that makes you tell yourself that you don't love yourself. Yes. Yes. Jessica says, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. All right, guys, I am not going to stay on here much longer. I appreciate y'all. I thank you. Bring your questions the next time. If you have questions, send me your questions. I thank everybody who joined. It was a great discussion, and we will finish this another time. Jessica says it's also just being honest with yourself. Sometimes that's humiliating. That's hard. You're welcome. Thank y'all. Being accountable has made me work on having boundaries. Yes, boundaries, 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 boundaries. Love the idea of the attachment quiz and going over it. Okay, so I am going to send the attachment link. Look for it in I think under this live video, and then on Facebook under this live video, and that's where I'll stick the quiz. But have a good night, y'all, and I will talk to you in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. All right. And now let's see if we know how to get out of here. And now. Okay. Good night.